You got the offer. You accepted it. You already started packing boxes and mentally spending that money. And then the whole deal falls apart 2 weeks before closing, and nobody told you it was coming. That right there is one of the most stressful things a homeowner can go through. And the worst part is that most of the time, it was completely avoidable. If you are getting ready to sell, or you just listed your home, or you're even thinking about selling in the next year or two, you need to hear what I'm about to tell you. Hit subscribe before we dive in, because this channel is where we talk about real renovation, real mistakes, and real money. I'm Jerry Davis, and I've been in and around construction, renovation, and residential real estate for a long time. I've seen deals close smoothly, and I've seen deals crash hard. And almost every time a sale collapses before closing, it comes back to something the seller either didn't know about, didn't fix, or didn't disclose. None of it is complicated, but all of it matters. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what puts a home sale at risk so you can handle it before it ever becomes your buyer's reason to walk. Let's get into it. The first thing that blows up home sales faster than almost anything else is the home inspection. And I know that sounds obvious, but here's what people miss. Sellers almost always say, "My house is in great shape," and they mean it. They've lived there for 12 years, nothing has fallen apart, the roof doesn't leak, the AC runs fine. But a home inspector isn't looking at your home the way you live in it. They're looking at it the way an engineer looks at a building. They're in the attic, they're under the crawl space, they're running every outlet, every faucet, every exhaust fan. And the things they find are usually not the big dramatic problems. They're deferred maintenance items that piled up quietly over years. Missing GFCI outlets near water, a furnace that hasn't been serviced in 8 years, improper venting on a bathroom exhaust fan that's been blowing moisture into the attic since the last renovation. Small stuff individually, but when the buyer's inspector hands them a report with 40 line items, buyers panic. Even if none of those items is expensive, the volume alone makes people nervous. So here's what you do before you list. Pay for a pre-listing inspection yourself. Spend the $300 or $400, find out what's on that report before the buyer does. Fix what you can. Disclose what you can't. You will have a smoother transaction every single time. The second thing, and this one drives me absolutely crazy, is unpermitted work. Someone finished the basement without a permit. Someone converted the garage into a living space without pulling a permit. Someone added a deck, a bathroom, a bedroom, an electrical panel upgrade without ever calling the municipality, and the seller didn't even know they needed one. Or they knew and just didn't bother. Here's the problem. When the title company starts doing their work, and when the buyer's lender starts reviewing the property, that unpermitted addition becomes a liability. In some states, the buyer's lender will flat out refuse to fund a mortgage on a home with square footage that doesn't match the permitted records. In other cases, the buyer can demand you either get a retroactive permit, which sometimes means opening walls, or reduce the price significantly to account for the risk they're taking on. I've seen deals die entirely over a 300 square foot basement bedroom that someone finished 20 years ago. Before you list, pull your permit history from your local building department. Know what's on record and what isn't. If something was done without permits, talk to a contractor or an attorney about your options before your buyer finds out at the worst possible moment. Third thing, appraisal problems. Your buyer and their lender do not shake hands and agree to let you keep whatever the buyer offered. The lender is going to send an appraiser to independently value your home. And if that appraiser says your home is worth less than the agreed purchase price, you have a problem. The buyer's lender will only loan based on the appraised value. So now you've got a gap. Either you lower your price, the buyer comes up with extra cash to cover the difference, you split it somewhere in the middle, or the deal falls apart. This happens a lot in markets where prices moved fast and comps haven't caught up yet, or where sellers got aggressive with their list price. The way to protect yourself is to price realistically from the beginning, which sounds simple, and yet people fight their agents on it constantly. Don't let emotion drive your list price. Your memories aren't worth square footage to an appraiser. Now let's talk about title issues, because this one catches people completely off guard. Title problems means something in the legal history of your property is unclear or disputed. Maybe there's an old lien from a contractor you paid years ago, but never got a proper lien release from. Maybe there's an error in a previous deed. Maybe a previous owner had a judgment against them that attached to the property. Maybe there's an easement that was never recorded properly. Your buyer's title company is going to do a full title search, and if something comes up, closing stops until it's resolved. Some title issues are easy fixes. Others take weeks or months of legal work. The fix is simple. Order your own title search before you list. It's not expensive, and it gives you time to resolve anything that shows up before your buyer's attorney is staring at it and getting nervous. Here's another one that people underestimate: seller financing or mortgage payoff surprises. When you sell your home and you still have a mortgage, that loan gets paid off at closing from the sale proceeds. But sometimes sellers don't know exactly what their payoff amount is, and it ends up being higher than expected because of prepayment penalties, accrued interest, or a second lien they forgot about. Or someone took out a home equity line of credit years ago, spent it, and the balance has been sitting there. Or a divorce settlement has a lien attached to the property that never got properly removed. All of that has to be accounted for at the closing table. If the numbers don't work, if your mortgage payoff plus closing costs plus agent commissions ends up being more than what the buyer is paying, you've got a serious problem. Know your numbers before you list. Call your lender, get an official payoff statement, and make sure there are no surprises hiding in your property's financial history. Something else that trips people up is HOA problems. If your home is in a homeowners association, that association has its own layer of paperwork, rules, and potential landmines. Buyers purchasing in an HOA community are entitled to receive HOA documents, financials, meeting minutes, and a letter of good standing. If you're behind on dues, if the HOA has a special assessment coming up, if the reserves are severely underfunded, or if there are ongoing disputes or litigation involving the HOA, any of that can give the buyer cold feet or grounds to walk away. Some buyers will simply not move forward on a property where the HOA is in financial trouble because it signals higher dues or assessments in their near future. Get ahead of it. Pay any outstanding dues immediately. Request your HOA documents early so you know what you're handing over to buyers. Let's talk about something more personal now, which is buyer financing falling through. This one isn't necessarily your fault as a seller, but it kills deals regularly. Your buyer gets pre-approved, you accept their offer, everything looks fine, and then somewhere between contract and closing, their financial situation changes. They switch jobs, they buy a new car, they open a new credit card, they co-sign a loan for someone else. Any of those things can change their debt-to-income ratio enough to disqualify them for the mortgage they were approved for. This is why when you're evaluating offers, you want to look at more than just the price. A fully underwritten approval is stronger than a basic pre-qualification letter. A buyer with a larger down payment has more cushion. A buyer offering a shorter inspection period or faster closing timeline is often more motivated and more financially stable. Don't just chase the highest number. Look at the whole picture. One that sellers really don't see coming is issues with the property's condition revealed by the appraisal, not just the inspection. Appraisers are also trained to flag certain property condition issues that affect value and loanability. Things like peeling paint on exterior surfaces, in older homes can flag lead paint concerns and actually trigger FHA or VA loan requirements. A cracked foundation, visible from the outside, a roof that clearly needs replacement, active water intrusion in the basement. These aren't just inspection notes. They can become conditions that the lender requires to be repaired before they'll fund the loan. And now you're doing last-minute repairs on a rushed timeline while your buyer is nervous and their rate lock is ticking down. If you know your home has visible deferred maintenance, deal with it before you list. A $5,000 roof repair or a repainted exterior saves you from losing a deal entirely. Here's one that comes up constantly in renovation-heavy homes: undisclosed defects and material fact disputes. This is where it gets legal and uncomfortable. Most states require sellers to disclose known material defects, meaning if you know your basement floods every spring, you have to say so. If you know the HVAC system has a recurring problem you've been nursing along for 3 years, you have to say so. If there was ever mold remediation done in the home, even if it was properly handled, you typically have to disclose it. When sellers skip or minimize disclosures, it usually comes out during inspection anyway. And when it does, now you don't just have a repair negotiation. You have a trust problem. Your buyer feels misled, their agent is raising flags, and suddenly, even things that were fine before feel suspicious. Disclose everything you know, every time. Not because you legally have to, which you probably do, but because it keeps the deal alive and protects you from liability after closing. And the last one, the one that I think is the most fixable and the most overlooked, is the home simply looking worse in person than it did in the listing. I know that sounds like a marketing problem, but it's actually a renovation and maintenance problem. Buyers make emotional decisions. They see photos online, they get excited, they schedule a showing, and then they walk in and the grout is gray and cracked. The trim paint is chipped and yellowed. The bathroom faucets are corroded. The carpet in the bedrooms is matted down from 15 years of foot traffic. And the kitchen cabinet doors don't quite close right. None of those things are structural problems. None of them cost a fortune to fix. But together, they tell a buyer that this home has not been taken care of. And that thought follows them through every other room. It makes them doubt what they can't see. It makes them wonder what else hasn't been maintained. And that doubt either kills the deal or costs you real money in negotiation, because now they're building in a discount for everything they assume is wrong. Before you list, spend a weekend doing a walkthrough of your own home with fresh eyes. Fix the cabinet door, recalk the shower, touch up the trim paint, replace the corroded faucet, deep clean everything, including the inside of the oven and the tops of the kitchen cabinets. These are not expensive fixes, but they are the difference between a buyer walking in and thinking this home is move-in ready versus a buyer walking in and mentally building a renovation list that shrinks what they're willing to offer. Look, selling a home should not feel like defusing a bomb, but the deals that blow up before closing almost never happen because of some massive, unexpected catastrophe. They happen because something small was ignored, something was undisclosed, something was assumed to not matter, or someone didn't do their homework ahead of time. The good news is every single thing I just covered is something you can get in front of before your home ever hits the market. Tell me in the comments which one of these you were surprised by. Or if you're in the middle of a sale right now, which of these is making you nervous? I read everything. And if you know someone who's getting ready to sell, share this video with them right now, because this is exactly the kind of thing people wish someone had told them 3 weeks earlier. Hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see this. I'm Jerry Davis, and I'll catch you in the next one.